Hi everybody, my name is Cindy and I am an energetic stepping and wholeness counselor. I work very closely together with spirit, most of the times with my own spirit team Carla, but also with female celebrities from the 1930s, 1960s. And I work also with crystals, and the way that I'm doing it is in sacred crystal sound. It is a way to relax, rebalance and re-energize your body and mind. And the person who told me this method is Moulin. Patrick is here with me tonight again. This time, not talking about sacred crystal sound or sacred auto tuning, but about something completely different. So before I start to question Patrick about this new treatment, I will introduce him. So Patrick Moulin is the author of the Little Book of Oneness, which is available on Amazon. Besides being a writer, he also gives private consultations, which he calls Akashic readings. Patrick gives these private readings in person or over the internet, but also to open groups. He travels between Central America and Switzerland to give workshops, Dolores Cadden quantum healing hypnosis sessions, individual energy sessions, and since last year, I think, you started to give a sacred crystal sounds method.
It's actually longer.
Is it longer?
Well, to the public, started in 2017.
Oh, yeah, that's much longer.
Yeah. And in Switzerland, we started in 2018, I think.
Yeah.
It's still relatively fresh. A few years is not too long. But yeah.
So today you are here to talk a little bit more about the self-treatment.
Yes.
Do you want to start explaining a little bit what it is and what the name is of this method?
Yes. The name of this method is Orion's Gaze. And it actually came up in an Akashic reading, meaning a private consultation that I gave to somebody, and that person should do this method. And in doing so, it was also, you could say, released for others. That other person really acted as a trigger to bring this out. So the Akashic reading provided the opportunity for it to come out. Now, Orion's Gaze is a simple self-help, we could say, self-help exercise where the person either sits or lays down and goes through a few steps. What are the steps? Just in this short answer. They relax and they have an intent to help their body if there are any imbalances in the body, or if they don't have that, if they feel actually okay but want to try this, the intent is at the same time for the highest good for themselves and to get deeply connected within their own, you could say, field, body field, on a deeper connection. And that would be the step 2. Step 3 is they enter consciously into a simple breathing pattern. And step 4, they begin to invoke a specific type of light. Now we may talk about this. We called it the Orion's Gaze, which is a beautiful name. And what they do is literally they bring that light into the body in the required area of concern. All the whole body is bathing in that light. And we'll go through this also later. But what happens is they literally enter into this light and they begin to perceive the dynamic nature of this bright light. And they stay in there for as long as the body wants it. This could be half a minute, it could be a bit longer. There could be dynamic processes happening that the body wants attention in different areas. So the light focuses more in other areas as well. So there are different things that could happen there. And in step 5, they hear that the body is saying it's enough. So this means that they gently bring back their attention to the breathing as how they breathe without changing it. Step 6 and 7 is literally you come out of this and do whatever you did or want to do in the day. So it's a self-help exercise. It's a wonderful thing. It gives you a lot of peace, but also a sense of a deep inner connectedness. And that deep inner connectedness is more than being connected with one's own self, body self. It's actually connected with the universe. And it's a wonderful method. And it gave me the impression of all times, it comes out right in this moment, where in many countries people are staying at home. Most of the people are not allowed to go out to do their things freely as they were used to. It's essentially meaning behavioral patterns that they have maintained until now have come to a kind of a stop, and they are more staying at home. And in this moment, maybe this is a good moment to actually try this out and go with it. If somebody likes it, continue with it because the effect is building. If they feel, I can't really relate to this, it's fine too. It's just in the open for anyone to try it. So you could say no strings attached, like it or not, it's just like this. So we posted this and on the website, our website, the Living Oneness Remembered website, and it's for anyone to enjoy. I will add some more updates on that page relating to this method, some additional recording, and perhaps we will put this video up there too. Now it became a longer answer again. But, yes, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it did. Thank you. So to go a little bit more into the exercise, so let's just take an example. When people are coming to this video or to your website and they see Orion's gaze and say, hey, let me try this out, but they have not yet much experience with meditation, with visualizing or imagining, what is it that you would like to recommend? Or is there...
I would say, never mind that. Sometimes it's better not to have done things before because you go into it innocently. So I would say there's literally no prerequisite for this because deep inside you have everything that you need. All the information is available and that you ever need to know already in you. It's just that we have to relearn where to look like this. Now, in the context of somebody who is perhaps not so much into visualization, it doesn't matter either because sensing is enough. And I tell the people, literally, making it up is enough. Because what is making up? That's in itself actually an interesting question. You create. You literally create with your mind. So now, if somebody comes and says, okay, I give it a try, go for it. I say there is no hindrance for anything. Don't put on yourself boundaries already before you start it. Have a positive expectation towards yourself. And say, doors are open, let's give it a try. That's all.
So when it comes to the name, why Orion and not Pleiadean's star system or any other star system?
Yes. It could have been other names too. It could have been, but it's not. I don't even want to mention the other names because that may be misleading. Oh, okay, let's give an example. It could have been Andromeda's light, but it's not. So maybe that light stands for something, and we can dive into this a bit later. But in principle, what we talk about here is a cue for the mind. A cue for the mind in the sense the mind needs something to relate to. So the mind is busy on that layer. But what really happens is we engage in our body's light field or light body, energy body. It has different names. And with this method, we learn to modulate in a specific way our light body. Because our light body is infinitely powerful. We can do so many things. But we need to start somewhere. And with this one, we learn to modulate the light body in such a way where we begin, you could say, to experience or remember something that junction point between universality and individuality. And that experience gives you this connectedness with everything, with the universe, that sense of deep peace and being at home. So that light stands for this. So, but for the sake of names, labelings, humans are known to label many things. In different epochs, they label it differently. So we should not read too much into the labels. Let's put it that way. Does this answer it?
Yes. Yes. So when it comes to, I've listened to the notes that you have put on your website. So you also describe a little bit about the light, how it looks like, the colors. So so you already explained what the deal is with the light of Orion, but is it just like some bright blue giant stars, or is there more to it?
Now, when you look in the direction of Orion, these are actually several stars. And they are not single stars, they are multi-star systems each. And they are bright blue because they are bright blue giant stars. That's on the physical plane. And that in itself is beautiful to watch. But the bright blue light, and we should not be so much attached to it, because some people have experienced another light even. It depends how the body of the person how does the person translate that energy pattern into what kind of color scheme. And this could be other colors. It could be darker blue, it could be purplish blue, it could be different. But we get started with this because that is a color that it's like a collective memory. That bright blue color, beautiful, bright, whitish almost blue, but it's so bright. It's not of this range of colors you can actually show. It is a subtle light, you could say. That is in the collective memory of humans, and we can recall that. So how this is in the end getting translated into our mind layer and experience there, they could be different colors even. So we take this just as a cue again. Beautiful bright blue of Orion, Orion stars. And as you do actually this exercise, you can, there could be other things happening. You start to remote sense those stars. You could actually go walk that road too, but it's not the purpose of this exercise, but it's like a side effect that you actually feel more familiar with that area. And that opens yet another box that we can perhaps talk later.
Yeah.
Did I did I answer this? Is that okay? Or
yeah, that's okay. I'm just reading the next question.
yeah, okay, good. You looked for a moment blank.
Yeah, I was like, how shall I formulate this one? So, okay. So when people are doing this meditation, or this not a meditation, but this self-treatment, and they say like, hey, I can really connect with this light, I can connect with it very easily, almost in an instant manner, then they're maybe asking themselves, is that normal, or is there something to it? Is there maybe like a connection between the light and the person?
It's a beautiful question, actually. Several have said that once they truly made that connection with the light within themselves and experience it as actually part of themselves, it's just there. Later on, they have noticed they can call it back or call upon it very easily. It happens like this. It's back. Once the memory is enlivened, it stays. Meaning we can always go back to it. It's just that in this lifetime, we just beforehand may not have looked at this. But once we do, it can come back instantly whenever we want. And that's beautiful because it's part of ourselves. It's part of ourselves. And in order to understand this may be a bit more abstract, but if you look at the body, it's a physical expression, but it is also non-physical. You could say the physical expression is like the top layer or the top skin. We are so much more. And in that direction, several cultures were expressing their views on this. Some talk of the prana fields, that we are connected with prana and live from it. Life force is another word. Then the chi field, chi is in you and is around you. It's a common theme in various traditions in the ancient Chinese wisdom. Then other cultures may give it other names. You can also call it light body, your light body of light. But within the light body, there are also, you could say, folded in all the layers. And one of these is that Orion's gaze, or this light body field of what we call Orion's gaze. And in order to explain this, we would have to say, and this is now leading really far beyond what we have mentioned on the web page, but it seems to be, it's pushing up, so it needs to be told. So it's pushing up from within. How do you even get into a human body?
Yeah, how does it work?
There are different views on this, and again, this happens. Why are there different views? It simply means on what level of expression are you starting to look at this process? But if you, let's say, go on the level of the most refined or abstract layer, there's no such thing as ego, individuality. There's no such thing. It's just being. Being, let's call it the ocean. It's just the ocean. Now, the ocean eternally at the same time creates. And in the analogy, you could say there's always waves on the ocean. For simplicity's sake, there's always waves. Each wave is a universe, you could say. Endless amounts. Time, not even a consideration. Now, okay, let's dive into this. From that perspective, how do you even get into a human body?
Yeah.
If you have that perspective of being, pure being, how do you even get into this body from there? You have to aim quite precisely, or you could say you have to collapse into, or you could even say into a point. Because when you compare body to infinity, it's a point. It's a point. So it's like aiming into a point, compactifying. In that process, what happens is the ocean is swelling up into a wave. But as it swells up into a wave, and the wave is like in this case represented as a human body that perceives the physical universe and is actually the same. Wave, body, universe is the same. Now, I say these things without explaining further. Perhaps we can do sometime later some other video. It gets too long. So we have the wave. Now, the wave, when you look at it, it gradually swells from infinity into a wave, from the entire ocean. There's a localization effect happening. Localization effect. So some swelling is happening. In these early stages, there's no physical body. There are energy fields. That is the nearest explanation. And even that is not quite accurate. It's states of ocean, states of consciousness, states of this infinite being that assumes a subtle realm, just created it, boom. And in those early stages, there is no such notion of individuality. The experience is on the whole realm, call it universe. Angelic, there are layers in there. But angelic, again, is just a label that might not quite catch it because it's loaded within religious contexts of different cultures, of different times even. And everybody has a different understanding depending on the time they're in. This is timeless. So in this, there is something happening. And what happens is gradually more expression of life is coming. Like you could say from universality to individuality, and then experiencing universality again. Or you could say from abstract to concrete. Gradually, more compactification of this infinite state, seemingly so, occurs from more subtle, like from subtle realms to a little bit more expressed realms. It's still not physical. But as this happens, it's like birth of individuality comes at some point. Individuality means before the experience is only the whole universe at once. You could say the only being in that universe is the universe. And then gradually, so it comes into an individuality experience. The individuality experience is the universe, whatever layer that is of abstractness. It's the birth of individuality, you could say, because the universe manifests more into concrete layers, expressed layers, more definite, you could say, limitations. That's only to play. For the universe is all play. Wave is a play. But from a oneness perspective, at some point, individuality is born.
Mm.
And from there, what kind of individuality? It could be some higher form of beings that have not manifested into the physical, that are in their realm. And we don't need to go into the details how this looks there, but we just want to say how this progresses. And then it goes on and on, there are the steps on, and boom, suddenly you're in a human body. I accelerated now the steps, but then you're in a human body. On the way to it, you forget all the previous steps. You have forgotten. There's amnesia. So
Yeah.
I do speak about in this context of say Orion's gaze, that some memories are enlivened, and in ancient cultures, like let's say the ancient Vedic culture in India, they talk of smriti, memory, and you supply the body field with memory through the chi field. But it's triggered by modulating the chi field or the pranic field, your light body field, with specific frequencies. And this is given through this process, in this case with Orion's gaze. And you could ask, okay, what kind of pattern is then represented in this bright blue light? That brings us to the beginning of this thing, this long discussion of why Orion's light, blue light, etc. It represents the junction point between universality and individuality, that junction point. Beautiful light. It's like in that moment, time doesn't play a role. The experience of it, no time. It's total saturation of, you could say, a saturation of peace, of silence, but you can experience it. That's the junction point of stillness and of bliss. And it feels like home. So that is what is being, you could say, enlivened through this process of using Orion's gaze. So that is what we mentioned in these recordings. There's much more to it than in this slide. That's one aspect. Does that answer the question?
I almost wanted to say we got a little bit sidetracked, but yes, it does give more understanding as well, like what Orion's gaze is. It is like, I think also gives a better understanding of, at least for me, when you're here walking around as a human being and people are telling you, yeah, but you're not a person, you are light. It is very hard to understand, like, but how and what, and when you've got people saying like you're so much bigger than you think you are. So with this concept that you explained, I think that gives an understanding to myself and hopefully also to others who are listening, like how much bigger you actually are, especially when you say like human body is like just a little dot somewhere. It is, you really have to be very precise to hit a human body because it is so small compared to whatever we are, or to what we
Yes.
are.
It's very interesting. It's actually a divine paradox, you could say, because through the body you can experience again infinity. It's like a holographic thing, because in the way that at every point in the universe you can find the whole information of the universe, and not just the expressed universe, physical universe, but also what led to this expression below that, more abstract areas. So at every point in creation, this is available. And it's available within you because you are complete. And this exercise helps the person to, it's one way. It doesn't state this is exclusive. It just says it's one way to experience actually your inner light, a specific inner light.
Thank you. So when people are doing this like once a week, or even once a day, what are the medium or the long-term effects of this exercise?
Yes. About the frequency of how often one should do this, this was left in that explanation part in the website, was a bit vague, you could say, or not. It could be misunderstood. I want to express the following. In the initial stage right now, if somebody starts with this and they don't have specific issues with their body or with themselves, they just want to try to experience this because they would like to experience this inner light. We say it's really for maintenance once a week would be enough. After a few runs, once they feel kind of comfortable in doing this, and after a few runs, yeah, they could do it once a day or so, but no more than once a day. And now let's look at the people, and if they do this, it means if they don't have specific issues, it just means the whole body is bathing in that light. So they are in it, surrounded by it, they are in it. So that's one type. The other is they may have specific issues and they feel, I would like to engage my lights to work with it. Why not? Of course it can. And in their case, they could already, if they are comfortable with the process, do it from the beginning once a day. But again, no more than once a day, like this.
Okay.
Now, did this answer the question? I think it did, right?
I think it was more, or at least like the medium and to the long-term effects. What is?
The effects, yes, right, the effects. Yes, the light stays longer with them. They are more intimately connected with that light, and they understand it better, and they could use it. I would even use the word blessing. They could bless plant life, animal life, whatever. You can even bless a rock with it. It's made of the same light. So what it means is, once you have that experience that this light is with you, it may be more in the background of your experience and you do your thing in the day, but you can always put your attention on it again in the day, and it's there. And when that happens and they are completely surrendering into this light, it's as if their whole field, energetic field, is vibrating with that light. They could also direct it. They can direct it to, because that light is not just within them, it has no limits outward. So they could simply direct it, meaning trigger it in other life forms, trigger the memory in other life forms that it's coming up there as well. And but they are being guided when to do it. This is a spontaneous process, but this could be beautiful in its own right. So we did state that there's a way one can also use this Orion's gaze on other people, like you could say a form of a treatment modality. But for this, there are some aspects that one needs to consider before doing this. This is a bit different than You just apply it on yourself. And that would need to be taught. So I would teach this as a separate process. It's not long. I've not finalized it. It's 3 or 4 lessons. That's all. And they could apply this in their own context if they have, let's say, a profession where they have clients. Then they could form of clients like, let's say, forms of therapies or forms of alternative treatments. They could add that to their tool belt if they wish, but obviously they need to have experienced it themselves first.
Yeah. So would this be done like a one-to-one course?
No. Well, it can. Actually, people can ask to be taught individually. That's possible. But it's a standard method, meaning, well, if somebody asks individually, it could be that there are some adjustments also for that particular person happening. But in principle, you could say it's the standard method. So I can teach easily a group. So it's a group. So let's say several practitioners come together and say, we would like to learn this. And then I can teach them all together in one go over 3, 4 lessons like this.
Okay, super. Back to the exercise. So how does it interact with the light body?
It modulates it. That's the point. It modulates the light body. Light body, when you put your attention on it, and it's like invocation of that light. It means you modulate your light body to that frequency. And that means your light body is enlivened because of your attention on it. So this is like, it could be an entry point into a whole thing, because working with one's light body is no end to it. So because if you, for example, I give an example. Some people have made the experience of out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experience means the body sleeps and they zoom out of it, and they are in a subtle body. Subtle body is a specific modulation, or you could say upholds a certain frequency of their energy or light body. So they are there. Now, they can explore the environment, they can explore all the realities with it, depending on how that light body is modulated. It's like a car.
Yeah.
In the ancient Jewish tradition, in this, what is this called? Kabbalah. I think they call it the vehicle. So there you go, it's a vehicle, but you need to know how to modulate it to experience different realities. And there's no end to it as to how much you can explore in creation, because creation is infinitely large, practically speaking. So going back to the question, you learn to interact with your light body consciously, and that's a plus.
So when a person experienced the deep peace during this treatment, is there something that you want to say something about, like the deeper aspects of this method, or is there something you want to add?
Well, we have gone into this already.
Yeah.
Deep peace, what a word. Deep peace is the state of being totally present. Or you can say to experience total presence. That state of being deep peace is at home. But now you experience it through a body, because you only can experience this through a body. You need a body to experience. So deep peace is experienced. So it's not just peace, but it's deep peace. And that means it is the result from experiencing a far deeper space within you, a far deeper layer within you that shows you your home. It's like a glimpse of home. That is eternity, but this eternity that moves in a way that has some flow. And that flow often is also described as flow of bliss, of infinite love, or unconditional love, of surrender, nature of God, and whatever you names you want to give to it. That is a glimpse into it. So that comes from deep peace.
Thank you for answering all those questions. Before we're at least that was the last question. Is there is there anything that you would like to add?
This is the time to try something new and use this opportunity. If you like it, go for it. And if you don't resonate with it, fine too. You can't go wrong with this. It's just made available for you all to enjoy and take it from there. Maybe it serves as an inspiration, particularly in these times, to explore more the within. It's just another avenue to do so and feel it out because you deal with your own inner self. And if this feels good, keep doing it and you open the door. And that is all.
Thank you so much. I will add your website and also your contact details underneath the video. So thank you very much for explaining what this self-treatment Orion's gaze is. And for all the listeners, thank you very much for listening in. We hope that you will give this a try at least once and see how this will work out on a longer term for you, and of course also that you will experience the deep peace, but also that other areas are going to open up for you. So
actually there's one thing more that just popped up on the horizon, and that is with this you can actually experience the state of grace. So I just want to end with this.
Beautiful, because I know grace is a very high vibrational, how do you call it? It's not just a word, it's like a vibration to be, and it is quite high. At least that is how I understand it.
Now one has to move from understanding to being it, to experience it. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. So thank you very much.
Yes, it was a pleasure, and I hope everybody can benefit from this, and all the best to everyone.
Yes, and see you next time.
Yes.